We are only a few days away from Gundam Evolution's release on PC via Steam. The game will go live on September 21st at 10 PM Eastern. I will be streaming it and trying to climb the leaderboard. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about Gundam Evolution, as an active player during the PC beta test, and someone who thinks Gundam as a franchise is pretty cool. Gundam Evolution is exciting for several reasons. The game itself was a lot of fun to play, and generally well received during its beta tests. Bandai seems to be taking Gundam Evolution very seriously. The game is being actively promoted on social media. There will be an influencer show match on September 24th, and several high-profile streamers will be playing Gundam Evolution on release. Bandai is definitely trying to put Gundam Evolution in front of the mainstream gaming audience, and that's good for the game. The game's balance and design are quite good, and going off the developer blogs, Bandai seems to have a good idea of what else needs to be done to improve the game even more. What is particularly great about Gundam Evolution is the fact that all mobile suits can deal a lot of damage. It's important because in other games, supportive characters can feel quite useless if they're isolated or if the characters they support are playing badly. Good aim, tracking, and positioning are all rewarded, and the amount of healing, stuns, and shielding is not excessive, so you feel like, and actually are, able to destroy enemies. Gundam games have typically had small but passionate player bases, but Gundam Evolution might be different. The game is accessible because of its recognizable hero shooter design and lack of story content that could keep non-Gundam fans away. Bandai's positioning Gundam Evolution as a competitive game, maybe one that can eventually be considered an esport. Competitive games are released all the time, but generally tend to fall off within 2 or so years, sometimes even faster. Many competitive players are already strongly tied to a major esport title, and they will return to it as soon as the latest Overwatch or League of Legends killer delivers. In many recent cases, the developers themselves are responsible for most of their game's major competitions, as opposed to the community or third-party tournament organizers. While it's safe to assume Bandai will host, or at least sponsor some kind of tournament for Gundam Evolution, I really doubt they will create a multi-million-dollar league infrastructure around the game to rival today's major esport titles. If I worked at Bandai and was responsible for Gundam Evolution esports, and assuming I was given a pretty small budget to work with, I would focus on small weekly cups for each region, small prize pools, and a point system that would feed into short, online tournaments for the top performing teams, again from each region, and those tournaments could have their own point system, or directly feed into an international LAN final at the end of the year. And hopefully the community and third-party tournament organizers will fill in the blanks with their own tournaments and events. While it would be very cool, I do not foresee Gundam Evolution becoming a major esport with players who can earn a living solely from competing, but it would be cool if streamers could earn a living from streaming. For now, I would say that Bandai has a solid game on their hands, and they need to deliver a good launch experience with regard to server capacity, community interaction, and bug fixes. There doesn't need to be a competitive scene right away, and neglecting the health or content release velocity of the game in favor of tournament-specific features like a very intricate spectator mode, or replays, or an in-game automated tournament system would be backwards in my opinion. I also hope that cheaters will stay away from Gundam Evolution, because the game uses easy anti-cheat, and I don't believe it'll do a good job of stopping cheats. Just consider other games that use easy anti-cheat like Fortnite, Apex Legends, or Paladins. All these games have cheats that go undetected. By the way, I do not believe that Gundam Evolution will substantially impact Overwatch 2. The game will still probably have a massive player base despite all the harm that Blizzard has done to it themselves and the game's development. Other issues that a game such as Gundam Evolution will need to contend with include player toxicity, matchmaking, and game balance as more mobile suits are added. Gundam Evolution is a 6 vs 6 hero shooter, and games in this genre will often result in players who played very well individually losing, and probably taking their frustration out on their teammates. Players who held high ranks in other games might be trying to make it in Gundam Evolution, thinking that the game will be easier to advance in, and they might get angry very quickly if they're not winning most of their games. So how will Bandai handle toxic players? Matchmaking is important because players will perceive a game to be unfair if they're often matched with players whose visible ranks differ greatly from their own, even if they're equal according to some hidden rating by the system. Alternatively, they could also feel a game is unfair if they're matched with teammates who perform worse than their rank would suggest. So how will matchmaking also handle pre-made groups of players who have experience playing with each other and a good system in place, versus players queuing on their own? And all of this while keeping in mind that players do not want to wait a long time to find a game. I've complimented Gundam Evolution's balance in this and a past video, but it's a lot easier to balance a game with 14 or now 17 mobile suits than it is to balance a game with 25 or 40 or 50 mobile suits. Eventually, it might be possible to create entire teams of tank or support or assassin type mobile suits. Will such teams be at an appropriate power level? Will they be fun to play against? Or oppressive? Those are the thoughts I had around Gundam Evolution. I hope to see you in game on September 21st and far beyond.